Do not talk like that.
Do not talk like that.
Is it snowing? I love snow.
All right,
Is
hang
it
on.
snowing, George?
Redirecting to YouTube.
Are we live already? And recording. Hi, everyone. I'm eating yogurt and granola.
Happy Christmas, Merry New Year to everyone. It's the 24th of December, 2020. It's me, it's Josh in New Hampshire, and He-Man and He-Woman in Canada.
She-Ra.
I'm the master of the universe.
And
Yeah.
No big deal.
wool sweater.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown.
Wait a minute. Was that your impression of me? Well, I want to talk about, I think before we get into the show, we need to talk about how this happened, how we ended up where we are right now, 1 p.m. Eastern on Christmas Eve.
Well,
2020.
I believe it all started with me complaining that you just post everything onto YouTube nowadays, and
wait. Rewind. Who complained first?
I complained, and then you complained separately, and then I messaged Matt, and I was like, we have both had this thought independently that whenever we try to listen to a podcast, he's like, new podcast with Corinna dropping today, and then I'm like, where is it?
Canadians
and it's on
don't get
YouTube.
Unlimited phone data, so we can't just like watch YouTube everywhere we go.
Yeah.
I can't just like go for a run and have YouTube like playing in my pocket open on my phone, because then it like bumps into my chest and it like changes the screen and opens up some random advertisement, and then all of a sudden I'm like looking at ads for Clorox bleach for the rest of my life. Anyways,
If you try and tell Matt this though, he doesn't listen. You're like, Matt, I can't listen to a podcast on YouTube, and he's like, I don't care. I need to feed my kids. That's all he says.
That's not true. That's not true. This is so yesterday, I decided to put the Corinna and Grant episodes up together, and I made an intro specifically to Ryan, which I was hoping he'd listen to. It was like, you know, when you like send that list off to Santa, it's like the same thing. Like, oh, I hope the great Ryan Atkins listens to my podcast. And
oh, we listened right away.
so I sent a text message to the both of them and said, here you go, you selfish people. And then
Canadian.
And then last night, I'm watching the grand finale, episode 4, Spartan Games, and I sent a text to my friend Josh that said, let's go live tomorrow. And Ryan's like, hey, you said that to me by mistake. But I'm down. So so here we are. This is how this happened, right?
Yeah. It was like a Christmas miracle.
It was a Christmas miracle. And I would like to focus on our two guests, Josh. I certainly have questions and issues with some of the production, with some of the editing, but we'll save that for our typical Davis and Chase rants. And I'd like to focus on the athletics of it all with Ryan and Lindsay. Does that sound fair?
I mean, it sounds fair, but I also like a good old Davis and Chase rant. So I mean, it'd be fun to be a third and fourth wheel on one of those units. So.
I'm sure we can sneak one in as a holiday gift to them.
Don't make me sing. Don't make me sing.
Don't make Ryan sing. It's not pretty.
Well, I think anybody who tuned in to any of this as soon as we heard it was happening, I think the athletes that did come in first and second were who we thought would probably be battling, right? We probably thought Ryan versus Hunter. We probably thought Lindsay versus Corinna. And I think in many ways it was the best episode because we finally got to sort of highlight what that storyline was. That's my thought, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think the one thing we've been waiting for this whole time is kind of the head-to-head, not conflict, competition between the athletes. And I think this episode, the last episode, did the best job of pitting Ryan versus Hunter, Lindsay versus Corinna. So that was kind of the human interest story that we wanted, not the whiny bucket throwing, belly slapping side of things. Like, you know, now that we got that out of the way, we can get to the real competition side of things, which I thought was excellent.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were
your drama from anywhere they could?
I want to hear from you individually about your attitudes going in you get this call, there's going to be this thing, we're going to have you battle? Was it, oh, awesome, I finally get to compete, and or, oh, awesome, we can finally make some money this year? Let's hear from Lindsay Webster first. What was your thought going like on the drive to Pittsfield? I almost said flight, but I'm sure it was a drive.
On the drive? Okay, so not like when we first found out and we were training for it and stuff, like actually on the drive to Pittsfield.
Okay, maybe both. How about both?
Okay. Well, I don't know. On the drive to Pittsfield, it's just kind of like, oh, the work's been put in and you'll like see how the cards play out. And we really didn't know like who was going to be there, what to expect or anything. So yeah, but like when we first found out, I would say that this is a tough year for you more so than me. I was just like, oh, no races. Like, okay, I'll just keep training because I like training and I have lots of hobbies. So I'll do those. But you were like, you'd go through waves of being like frustrated because you had nothing to focus on. And he's just like, oh my God, what am I doing? And so when it was announced, you like went nuts because you were so excited and you were just like training. He was doing all the training. And he put together this insane training camp for us that after we executed the first time, we were like planning on doing 3 or 4 of these training blocks. And after we did it the first time, we were just like, okay, we're going to have to dial that back to like half or else we'll be basically like dysfunctional by the time the event rolls around. So yeah, it was good. And then I was almost the opposite. I was just like there was one time Ryan said to me, like, are you sure you still want to be a pro athlete? Because like you're being really kind of whiny about having to like train really hard again every day with the focus. And I was sort of just like, well, I didn't mind just like exercising every day for
casually
just doing whatever I felt like. And now all of a sudden we're like putting in like double days, triple days, all the intensity sessions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I forgot how much I didn't miss like the pressure of prepping for like essentially a world championships race, right? Because that's what we treated it like. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of structure and it can just be not fun sometimes. Like you never do what you feel like doing. It's always like, oh, what I should be doing. So
we're going to talk more about this, Lindsay, but have you deadlifted since the Spartan Games?
Yeah. And I asked for a barbell for Christmas. Not that I think I'm going to get it because that's like a really expensive Christmas gift. But yeah, like I'm definitely, I think, gonna go and get one. Although Hunter gave me advice that I should just get 2 50-pound kettlebells, and like there's a lot that I can do with those too. So if anybody out there has advice, like send me a message because I don't know what to get. Whether it be like a squat rack or a barbell or just like, should I start with 2 50-pound kettlebells?
Did you just ask for fitness advice from the internet?
I might just go get some rocks and a piece of steel piping and just kind of bolt them together for her and just call it a day.
Hey,
well, no, it was cool because like even Kellen said that with her, like she trains with Nazalite. She's the marathon runner from the event, and Kellen was telling us that like they actually lift quite a bit. And so I don't know, it's really cool to see as like that you can be a runner and that doing lifting isn't gonna make you like bulky. It's gonna, even if you're doing lifting that's to benefit your running, like it's only going to make you faster and you're going to be able to run up hills faster. And I want that. So
do you know who does a lot of lifting?
He-Man, Master of the Universe.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, no big deal. I think he definitely would have won the Spartan Games if he was there.
Didn't he lift up like the whole entire planet Earth one time?
Probably.
Yeah. I think that did happen.
He is the master of the universe.
Yeah.
Prince
the
Adam.
most powerful man in the universe too.
Mm-hmm. Not just Earth, the universe.
See, you women,
in his Christmas stocking, he's pretty excited.
This is in my stocking.
the women don't have all these idealistic Barbie lifestyles to live up to. We just have He-Man to live up to. No big deal.
It's I was actually reflecting on it today, and I was like, I wonder if the creators of He-Man are like in cahoots with like the creators of CrossFit, because like I feel like everybody who grew up watching He-Man has just like, they're now like 30 and then CrossFit comes along and they're like, wait a minute. And like their subconscious is like tweaked and they're like, I could now be like He-Man if I just lift a bunch of these metal bars up and down.
And a planet.
All day. So it's like,
it's true. Girls have to live up to Barbie and they complain so much about how, it influences, their images and stuff as they're growing up. But like, look what the guys have to live up to.
Yeah. Like,
what is
really?
this?
Come on.
I don't hear them complaining. No, I'm kidding.
Some people think that Ryan Atkins is a model to look up to. They look at him and his fit bod.
Bod pod.
It's pretty great.
I don't know.
How did this whole thing differ from what you guys were pitched when they first called you to when you showed up? What did you see was the biggest like difference between here's the bill of sale and here's the actual product?
Well, like they told us about 4 or 5 of the events, and it was kind of funny because all the events they told us about were all the like endurance events. And so I was kind of like, oh, sweet. Like, honestly, I wasn't worried about Hunter like at all, because I thought it was going to be like mostly just endurance stuff. And I was like, well, Hunter's like massive now and he can't really run very fast. So like, I wasn't worried about Hunter. I was worried about like who else might show up who's like an endurance monster.
Yeah, they told us there would be Deka Fit, but they said that it was going to be the Deka Mile, and
they said it was going to be Deka Mile and the Deka 5K. So like bunch of running mixed in, and I was like, oh, like no problem. I got that. I can either like probably win that event or come second or whatever. And then like the mountain bike race and the trail marathon and like
swimming, we knew
swimming and OCR. And I was like, perfect. Like, that sounds great.
We didn't know that all the fillers were going to
be all the fillers.
Anyway, I whined about that enough in the episode, so I just won't say anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it was, and the other thing that I found interesting is they kept all those events like Deka Fit or whatever, they kept kind of secret, and they didn't really tell anyone what was going on until I have like a sneaking suspicion that it was going to be like a Deka 5K on the last day. But then because Hunter and I were so close, they wanted to like make something that Hunter would do better in. So they're like, what can we do that Hunter will win? I know, Deka Heavy, which I had never even heard of before. And to like try to bring the kind of gap.
Well, but the other 2 events that day were more endurance based.
Well, as much as I'm a sports semi-conspiracy theorist, I think that is in the department of giving them too much credit. I think that you know that they were at where they were at. The one thing I wanted to see was as soon as they started the VK, I was like, well, they know this thing's going to be like a 12 to 15 minute event for the fast people and a 20 to 25 for the slow. Why don't they send them up and down? Because down is going to be amazing. And yes, like you got to avoid the people coming up, but these are professional athletes. They'll figure it out. So I really would have loved to see that, because you would have seen maybe Josiah catch back up with you on the way down. Like, don't you think that would have been more fun?
It would have been epic too. People would have just been like crashing all over the place. And like, imagine falling down wearing a weight vest. It would be just like face planting into a rock, but like now you have 20 pounds on your chest as well.
Right. Because if you're going to do a King of the Mountain, it just makes sense. You send them up, you send them back down, and it's still a short event. Like, you're not killing them. It's not 10 miles. Anyway, Josh, did that occur to you at all or no?
No, I mean, the thought of running down those slick rocks with a weight vest on, like, think about how top heavy think Mike Wardian, how top heavy that guy would have been, right? He just would have tumbled and ended up at the bottom. So
it might have improved his overall time.
Yeah, that would have been entertaining for sure.
So one of the things that people enjoyed seeing was a little emotion from both of you. If you only see you guys, you know, at the start and maybe with a medal in your hand, or the TV shows where you're doing interviews and it's very composed, you might not see this other side, which some people who are closer to you might have seen. But you know, Lindsay, when you got to the top of the climb, for example, that was sort of a rough moment for you. Can you tell us what was happening there?
Yeah, I mean, I was in like a lot of pain, and at that point I didn't know if my foot was like broken or I don't know. I didn't know what was going on, but it was just really frustrating because I knew that I was going to like try and finish the event to the best of my abilities. I was like, we don't have other races this year. So like, even if it's a stress fracture, like I'll just keep running as long as I can until I can't anymore. But after I had to run uphill with like an extra 15 pounds, it's just like, I don't know, running's painful enough as it is because that's how I injured it. But to add like the extra weight was just like super awful. And then I was frustrated because we still had 2 events to go. And we knew at that point one of them was going to be Deka Heavy. And I was like, how am I supposed to like carry double my body weight around when it like hurts to stand? And then I have to go run again and like somehow jump off obstacles and stuff. And anyway, like obviously I made it through and it was fine. But
So
it was just frustrating to be like so close to the end and
trying to run and compete like with an injury like that is really tough because I had something similar happen to me. What was it, 2 years ago at Illinois or something?
Yeah.
There was like a U.S. national series I think in Illinois, somewhere like that.
Florida?
I don't know.
They had a Chicago one a few years ago.
Was a Chicago one a few years ago? Yeah. And I had a bone bruise on my heel from like a rock climbing accident. And every step was just like searing pain. And like, so the whole race, you're trying to like race, but like on top of that, you're in like like another source of pain that's just like hitting you every step. So I think that's what Lindsay was feeling.
I think for me, like the most frustrating part was to be so close to the end and like have tried so hard for the last 3 days. And then like, you're finally on the last day and it's like, am I going to have to drop out of this whole event now? Like, I don't know. You can understand that would be frustrating. So they were frustration tears more than I can deal with the pain, but like the frustration was aggravating.
Didn't last year in Tahoe you came in with an injury, but you kind of didn't tell anybody because you wanted to like not give anybody an edge?
Yeah, I had a stress fracture in my other foot, and so that's like the first major injury I've ever had before, and that's why I was worried about this one because it really did feel like it was maybe like a stress fracture, but obviously it wasn't. It healed pretty fast and stuff, and had to take a couple weeks off running, but it felt like it could be, or I didn't know if it was maybe like a muscle. It turned out to be like a muscle
soft tissue damage.
Yeah, it was soft tissue damage. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, I did that race with a broken foot too.
So speaking of emotions, we got to see Ryan, very angry Ryan. I think he kicked a rock perhaps. And I have seen frustrated Ryan before. But a lot of people hadn't. And so again, it's good. Like we want to see you as human, as frustrated, like, hey, they train just like we do. Let's just went out in here. What's going on? I'm like, this might be like a Nakatomi Tower situation going on. It's Christmas Eve. I don't know what's happening to the power. But you were very frustrated. So before we get into the seat business, which I do want to get into, can you talk about the finish of that race?
The Deka Heavy.
Yeah,
I like what Rhea called it. Rhea called it the Deka Strong Stronger.
Yeah.
The Deka Chunky. Yeah, I mean, so in the first event, I went up against Hunter and we kind of raced, and then Ryan, Kent, and Herman went together after, and he beat my time by like 3 seconds or something. And then in that event, I went up against Herman because I thought, well, everyone thought me and Herman would be like a good match and stuff. And it turned out that me and Ryan Kent were like about the same time. So it would have been nice to like be paired with him, or to go maybe, I don't know, or to be given like the split so you could like chase a split. But I got no repped on the deadlift for whatever reason.
There was something else you got no rep on too.
On the
they
pull-ups,
didn't air it, but
I got no rep on the pull-ups like twice. Even though like if you go back, even they show it in the video, they show I think Faith's pull-ups, and like there's one pull-up that they gave her and like her head doesn't even clear the bar.
Yeah. They did that with Kurt too, and we were like,
that was disturbing to me. I saw that one and I was like,
they definitely gave him like a pity rep. They're like, yeah, you're fine, go ahead.
But watch Ryan's deadlifts. This is what kills me because we we're trying to like rewind and watch them again, and when they no repped him,
they
like,
no repped me on like the first 2 reps, and they show, and it's like literally they show it on the thing.
But if you watch some of the other competitors, like they're doing the exact same thing and they're not getting
they're
the bar. It was a no rep, but it's frustrating because there was 2 different reps, and like they obviously had different
there's definitely it's definitely hard on television, but yeah, that Faith rep was like, I literally and she specifically asked, and I was like, why is she not having to go back and do this? Like that's not okay. Like that's not even close.
No.
Bad look for them. But we're not going to stay away from the bad look from Spartans for most of this call, even though Ryan wants to see it.
Anyways, if you added up all those no reps that I got, which were, I think, sure, maybe there were no reps, but they were like a lot more of a rep than a lot of other reps that were allowed to go on. And if you added those all up, it would have been, more than the difference between Kent and I. But that's why I was frustrated.
So because you wanted going into the last race, you wanted as big as gap as possible, I'm guessing, right? Like that's the whole thing, because you can probably beat him in the thing, but you want to make sure that no points get in your way just in case.
It's nice to come in and like be able to be relaxed about the last event. Not that I want to say like, oh, we wanted to slack off. Like there's definitely no room for that. But it would have been nice to like have a comfortable first place going into the last event and not be like, oh, it's going to come down to this last one, because you're so tired at the end of those 4 days. Like, yeah.
I think if I had placed second, if I had done it a second faster or whatever and beat Kent in that Deka Heavy, then I would have been able to finish second in the OCR to Hunter and still win. So that's why I was like,
right.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was, watching you guys, and then they showed Corinna, and she goes, my strategy was to let Lindsay go ahead. And I'm like, nope, that bad strategy. Like, that was not...
Her plan A was like to beat me, but her plan B was like, oh.
Listen, trust me, I know what she meant, but as soon as she said that, I'm just like, yeah, Lindsay's also really good at obstacles. Like this plan is not going to work. It's not going to work.
I've had some years of experience. Obviously she has too, but like she stepped away from it for a little while. But yeah, I mean, so the last time her and I would have raced together, like I was still pretty bad at obstacles. And
maybe that's why she was thinking like 2015 Battle Frog days. Like she just wasn't
exactly. Like a lot of those obstacles I would not have been able to do then. So yeah.
I think it was really interesting seeing like the athlete that Corinna has become. And I think it's a really interesting case study, because in 2014, if we all remember and we put on our way back playback hats, Corinna and I both finished second at Spartan World Championship in Vermont. So like there we are, Corinna and I at like the same, equivalent female male kind of performance. And then she basically went CrossFit training, and I went like, endurance training. And obviously she's really strong at CrossFit, but like her endurance has gone like way down because of all the CrossFit that she's done and the lack of endurance training. Whereas like you see Lindsay and like the trail marathon or the uphill run or any of those things. And I know CrossFit says they're the fittest on the earth, but like their endurance is just like, not great.
And if you look at,
like, I wonder if Corinna in like 2015 Battle Frog days, like I don't think she would have done as well at Spartan Games as she did,
because she wouldn't be as strong.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you look at her points too, like she was probably the most consistent, like point wise. She was always 12, 18, 12.
But she
18.
never won an event.
She never won a single event. Whereas Lindsay, you were more. You won 4 events. You had a couple that you finished lower, but that extra push over the top on those 4 events are what gives you the lead in the end. So
I was super polarized though. So,
we will definitely be doing a deep dive with Jack Bauer. We've been texting already on the data, because that's definitely fun to look at when you have this nice, finished thing. Big shout out to Josh Chase, single-handedly watching hours and hours of videotape, sometimes multiple episodes of the YouTube show to get this right, even when Spartan got it wrong, to figure out and to see these trends, right? To see that for the men, for example, only 3 men won anything. You, Hunter, and then somebody snuck in there. The women, it was a little bit wider. The women, it was 5 or 6 winners. And you see Corinna, like that's the perfect CrossFit athlete, right? Just finish near the top every time and you'll take it. What's even more amazing to me is that you got a fucking goose egg in wrestling and you still won the event.
Yeah, that goose egg did not help things.
Yeah.
No, but that's really impressive. So. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
It helped with the drama at the end of it.
All right.
Helped the production value.
All right. So let's talk about this bike seat business. Give us the before, give us the during, give us the after. Because I'm honestly not clear. Like Morris seems pretty blasé. Like, well, you had a chance to get on it, and it's not our fault. And anyway, can you run it through us for us?
So they had 3 assault bikes there, 2 to compete on, and one to like warm up on, right? And so 2 of the seats, like the way the seat works is there's like a little gap between where the seat is and like that little metal bar underneath it. Normally on 2 of them, there was a little gap, about an inch gap. And on one of them, it was flipped upside down. So the gap was gone. So before the event, and for the first Deka Fit, we competed on the bikes that were the right way. They were both the normal gap. And the one that we warmed up on was the different one. And then they said, figure out what your seat number is at. Mine was at like 8 or something. So then the judges write down your seat number, and before you go, they like adjust it to your seat number, right? So I thought I was in lane 1. I was on the lane 1 bike warming up, and I moved it.
He's talking really loud. I'm sorry. I was like, ow. He's fiery.
I'm the same way. My wife is always like, why are you yelling?
Anyways, I moved it up to the correct height, and I just, in the race, they moved it to, the lane that I was in was the one without the gap, so that all the seat for the same like number 8 was an inch lower. So I got on that bike, and right away I start pedaling, and I like notice, and my legs start like going super lactic because it's an inch too low. And
did they tell you you'd be in the other lane? I think they had told you that.
I don't know.
Where was the miscommunication? I guess that's what people are trying to figure out.
Well, I think it was kind of just Spartan's general mess up for having one bike that's different than the other 2. That would have solved a lot of things. I had my seat height figured out. They had that written down. And then there was one random bike that was in the lane that I was in that was different than the other 2 bikes. And it just kind of threw a wrench in it. And I think because I do so much biking, I am really sensitive to the seat height. And so when you get on and you start pedaling as hard as you can for 50 seconds and your legs start burning way more than they should be, it was just like, I mean, there was another second probably there for me, which again, I was like, it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but when the whole event comes down to that 1 second, and that could have cost me the entire event, because if I had lost to Ryan Kent in that by a second, which could have been the no wraps, could have been the seat height, could have been whatever. And then if Hunter had beat me in the OCR, that one mess up on Spartan's part of having a different bike that's like faulty basically could have thrown the whole event off.
Why? How come like nobody else who ended up in that lane had the same problem?
I'm like Goldilocks or the princess and the pea, if there's like a pea underneath my seat, I just can't sleep. So
the other thing is I think Mike Morris, like they aired in the episode, he says like you could have got on it and tried it, but I'm pretty sure they had also told us like, give us your seat heights, but you're not allowed to like be on the bikes, because they were like running us one after another.
Yeah,
like there was like people who were competing. So my understanding was that we weren't like allowed. I
also heard, tell me if you guys heard this, that since the event, they're not calling them assault bikes anymore. Did you hear this? They're gonna. No. It's too offensive.
The worst joke of all time.
What is it? It's true. Why is it the worst joke, Ryan?
Stop making that. You can't make fetch happen. Stop trying to make this a joke.
Lindsay, they're calling them be nice to people bikes.
Be nice to people bikes.
Because assaulting is like
a high standard of puns. He's like the punniest guy on earth. So you're not.
Yeah, I don't know, Matt. You're gonna have to come up with a better one than that. Be nice to people bikes. How about Josh, the inclusive bike?
Hug bikes.
Yeah.
Josh Chase, what's going on in the chat? Are we getting any interesting questions?
Jack Bauer's in the chat agreeing with Ryan that the assault bike issue is an issue for people that are on the bikes a lot. I want to go back to Hunter for a second, Ryan. Do you think Hunter was semi-sabotaging you by telling you to pick the bar up and then drop it? Because it seemed like that was far less efficient than letting it go down and bouncing back up. I feel like he sort of underhandedly was like, yeah, this will mess him up.
Like at the time I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, because if I don't have to like lower it, then I'm not doing the eccentric work. But then afterwards, I was like, wow, that was really slow.
I thought he was saving you. He was saying, if you can't get it, don't struggle, just drop it, because rather than use that, that's what I thought he was saying. And like, you're not straining, just let it go and do a new rep. Isn't that what he was saying?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying. And I think it would be a fine line as to whether lowering it would have been faster, or maybe I would have hurt myself. I mean, who knows? So I don't think he was low-key sabotaging me. I think he was like honestly just trying to save my back.
I think Josh was half kidding. But I would say that I was surprised because, you know, when they show Lindsay and Nicole saying, hey, we don't lift a lot of these, I guess because you're just such a strong guy, Ryan, we assumed you had experience with lifting things.
Yeah, I mean, have I ever done the deadlift? I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I've probably done one or two, but I don't know really the form or whatever. Like, I find it really awkward because it's like in front of you, so you have to like kind of put butt back, and then I don't know the technique at all, and it was probably heavier than I've ever lifted a deadlift, but I can lift up rocks pretty well. So
Ryan's like a very strong naturally person. Like if he does weight training, he'll put on muscle. Like I think you have to like work pretty hard to keep muscle off so that you can be a faster endurance athlete. So I think naturally he's like built to be.
Yeah,
like
I can see that, as am I. That's why I drink a lot of dunks, because otherwise, you know what I mean? I'll
the endurance athlete's secret weapon. Dunks.
Right. Jack Bauer sent me these questions in advance because he wasn't sure he would make it. Unless you want to jump in with another question, Josh, before I ask another Jack Bauer question.
No, fire away.
Which OCR athletes who weren't in the competition would have had a reasonable chance of beating you overall?
Is that from me or Lindsay?
That's either one from Jack Bauer.
I don't know.
Rebecca Hammond might have done okay. Why are you laughing at that?
Because Matt's face is
Okay, second question from Jack Bauer. Or both of you, but we'll start with Ryan. Will Ryan do any Deka events if prize money is big enough?
Yeah, I think I'd like to try the Deka fit with the running event. That sounds like it would be good. The thing with Deka fit that I don't like is that it's so equipment intensive. Like you basically, if you want to have all the equipment to like train for it properly, you need to go out and drop like $5,000 or more, which is
almost like that's their plan, to get people to buy their stuff.
It's pretty, it's pretty hard to, sell that. And I don't have like a gym near my house that I can do that. And with COVID, you're not really going to gyms anyways. I actually have an ATV that I put the brakes on, and I can push that across my lawn as the sled.
Yeah.
Fucking Rocky IV style, bro.
Definitely the Rocky IV montage scene right now.
Yeah, and then I'll do sit-ups from the rafters and hike up the hill in the snow a few times, and yeah.
Dude, he invented CrossFit.
Yeah, basically.
Well, listen, I'm no marketing wizard, but I do believe this is a sponsorship opportunity. I'm going to send this clip to Rogue. Who else makes gym equipment? And I think you guys are pretty well-known athletes. Send you guys some equipment. Get you guys ready for the High Rocks Deka Games.
Yeah.
Barbell, please.
What's it called? The ski erg and the rower.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know Force 5 makes some stuff too.
Yeah,
maybe it would be like a good bet for me.
I don't think they make a ski erg though.
No, but maybe like some dumbbells.
But you know what, Ryan? The engineer in you, the problem solver in you, I bet you could like walk around your property and figure out some shit to build a ski erg.
Okay, well, I did do that. However, it was not as good as a ski erg.
What did you use?
I used like elastic bands that I put like above the rafters, and
like physio bands.
like physio bands, and then I put like handles on them, and then I would pull down like that for the ski erg. And for the rower, I did the same thing with physio bands, but I put like a nunchuck between them, and then I would like
for the handle.
for like the handle, and I would pull it like a rower. So I mean,
I had this 95 Chevy truck. It was a dually. We took the timing belt out of that fucker. We hitched onto a couple things.
The truck
we
would never sled push.
wrapped the drive axle over my burn beam, and we moved the deer off to the side because she was bleeding out. And then before you have it, we had a ski erg ready to go.
Well, there is this big High Rocks, this $10,000 High Rocks happening. They're going to announce it, I think, specifically on January 1st when they show the High Rocks World Championships in Germany that Hunter was just at. And their normal payout's like 3-2-1 maybe, but this one's going to be like 10-3-2. You should go to that, Ryan Atkins.
Yeah, I might.
I like how Matt just spoiled that. Just no big deal. Just
no, I've been posting it.
Lindsay still thinks it's called Hydrox, so
no, I don't.
You shouldn't. You should go just. Stick
and I
with
also
that.
learned that difference between High Rocks and Deka. So
no, that's good. No, this is not what's. There's still a lot to come on that event. Hunter's going to announce a bunch of stuff. High Rocks is going to announce a bunch of stuff. But no, he told me I could say the money's going to be huge, and we need to get big athletes there. So
or even medium-sized athletes.
Medium-sized athletes.
They're welcome as well.
Lauren's a medium-sized athlete. She was small athlete.
But no small athletes, they can't go. Sorry.
We have no other good YouTube questions, Josh. We've been on for 39 minutes. Come on, people. Can't do all the work for you.
Random stuff. Do either of you have any interest in doing a Go Ruck event? I'm pretty sure that was a Go Ruck employee that asked that question.
Not really.
if Go Ruck makes an event that involves running up a mountain with a weight vest and it lasts for 12 minutes, then I'm all in.
Somebody said, Ryan, every time Ryan, you cross the finish line, you're like a sack of potatoes on the ground, right? You always push your limits. What fails first for you, legs or lungs?
I'd say, I don't know, probably like equal part legs, lungs, and just spirit escaping my body, general soul.
Was there was like after the event, I know you guys didn't have a ton of downtime after the fact, but like what was the conversation like afterwards? Was there any like Survivor type conversation, like, oh, if I do this, I'll get these points? Like how much kind of math after the fact was going into it? Or were you guys just, I'm gonna show up and do my best and that's what I'm gonna do no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, there was like, well, the first day the first like day and a half, they didn't tell us who did how well at what event or what the points were or anything. And we were all just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, maybe I'm winning, maybe I'm not. Just keep racing.
I think I saw Lindsay take her phone out and like snap a photo of the points when they first showed the board of it. I was like, you might as well have that out there for them, but whatever.
Yeah. But then, there was some like napkin math going on, but like it was between like having your legs squished by the Normatex and like getting eating like a bowl of rice and I don't know, trying to pound as much body armor as you possibly could and things like that.
Avocados. Joe said you guys had a ridiculous desire for avocados, which was apparently bad. Yeah, he was complaining before about how these athletes wanted avocados and mattress pads. So
I don't remember that part, but
really when you were at the Spartan Games sponsored by Harley Davidson, hanging out in the Body Armor Lounge, what other treats were you enjoying?
They had a lot of
it was really nice. We all got to ride Harleys back and forth to the events from the barn.
It was like a half
to
a
the cafeteria
from
and
the
back.
barn to the eating area. It was, and when you've been racing a lot, it was long.
There was a Body Armor hot tub filled with fruit juice that we all got to soak in after the events and recover in. That was really nice.
We did have hot showers. The showers actually were really nice.
There was a ball pit filled entirely with honey stinger gummies. So that was good too. What else did we have? I can't remember.
Secret recovery tips of the pros.
You'd bounce around so nicely in there if that was
Yeah.
a real thing.
Yeah.
If we have any artists in the audience listening or watching, if you could please draw what he just described, that would be amazing. A ball pit of honey stinger goose.
Just Ryan Atkins cannonballing into the boiling body armor hot tub.
Yeah, no, I actually kind of thought that we were gonna like maybe win Harleys or something, because they had like a couple of them there and stuff, and it was like everything was Harley Davidson this, Harley Davidson that, but then no dice. So
I don't understand that sponsorship.
I think there's some good questions coming in now, Joshy. I just looked over there. People are finally waking up.
Why don't you read a few?
Oh, okay. Well, so I was trying to not get distracted. Now I lost him.
Yeah, here's what the one I want to know. What contact have you guys had with Hunter, Ryan, after the event? Anything? Because it seemed like he was very like, I need to beat Atkins. Atkins made a fool out of me. Like I can't keep losing to this guy. Whereas you were just kind of, I'm just going to compete and win. And that's all it is. So where he's very focused on.
Yeah. I think that's just like a difference in like personality and general like demeanor. I guess I think he compares himself to other people a lot, and like he defines his success by like beating someone or not beating someone. And whereas I don't do that so much, I just like want to compete as hard as I can, and the chips will fall where they fall, and then we can all just move on. So yeah, I mean, I was not really, he hasn't called me up and been like, I'm going to beat you at the next event here, sucker, or anything like that. But
different people.
Is he Foghorn Leghorn now? What's going on?
Foghorn Leghorn? Who that?
He's another 80s cartoon.
Glenn Race, Spartan Pro or ex-Spartan Pro. I haven't seen you around, Glenn, in a while. I'm not sure. How often do you guys get a massage during a typical race season? P.S. You guys are neat.
Aw, thanks, Glenn. Massages. I mean,
often enough.
I would get them more often if I could. We've got a set of Normatex, and those are like 60% as good as getting a massage for like just your legs.
Did you hear that?
Which is,
it's totally different.
They're convenient, but they're not the same.
I get a massage like once a year. I wish it was more often, but
yeah,
we have to like find somebody more local. We used to go see a guy in Toronto who would like work out our kinks and stuff, and we'd see him maybe like quarterly.
Do you use a gun and or spiky balls?
So the thing with like massaging or any of those those things is they actually help you recover faster, which is great, but they blunt aerobic adaptations or like muscular adaptations. So on like a day-to-day training base, you probably shouldn't be using them very much. But in the Spartan Games, they were like gold because you're not trying to get fitter from day 1 to day 2. You're just trying to like recover as fast as you can and then compete again as well as you can. So yeah, like those things, massages and, you know, percussive massage tools and all those neat, nifty tools, they're great and they feel great and they're cool tools, but they're not something that I think people should be using like.
No, but if you have like
day.
a kink or a niggle, like go see your massage therapist.
Well, I'm interested though what you just said, Ryan, because I've never foam rolled. I've never used the ball as much as I'm supposed to. And this last year I got a gun, and doing that pretty much every time I get done running. And then even like the next morning, just it's there, I grab it, like not even 2 minutes, just kind of an overall, the places that I usually get tight doing it. I feel like my endurance is better. Everything is better. I don't feel as sore after the run. Like I do it like all the time, and I feel like it's done nothing but benefit me. But you're saying maybe if I was trying to build muscle, it wouldn't be as good, or what were you saying is the overuse harm?
If you're trying to like, you know, get fitter, like
explain about the inflammation.
Yeah, because it's basically taking away, like your body uses inflammation in order
to heal.
Yeah, when you train, you're basically creating damage to your muscles, and then your body gets inflamed around that damage, and then that inflammation is what heals it, and the healing process is what makes you stronger. So if you're taking away the inflammation every time you train, you're not getting the, benefits of that your body would naturally give you.
Via ice baths or rolling.
Yeah, ice baths, Normatex,
all things that
percussive massage.
Yeah, so they're, and our like expert physio guy says the same thing. He says they're okay to use sometimes, but it's not things that you want to be using every
So Matt,
day.
if I was you, I would use them like before you go running. If they're good to like warm your muscles up, that's really good.
Yep.
And if you do, say you're like, oh, I'm gonna run, really hard one day and then really hard the next day. Maybe after your first session you want to use them, but after your second session maybe you don't, or maybe you use it after an easy run but not after a really hard run.
Like stretching and mobility is really good for recovery.
So you're saying if I go for a really long run, right? Let's say it's a 15 miler, right? And the next day I'm just a little tight, just let myself be a little tight. Don't hammer it out necessarily.
Do some mobility.
Yeah, I mean, the next day most of your inflammation should have gone down. So that'd probably be fine. I mean, like after your run, in the 6 to 8 hours after the exercise.
Right. And I do like the waking up of the, I've got like the sleepy glutes. I got to wake up those glutes, man. Get them to fire. Come on, glutes.
Come on, baby. It's like trying to start your lawnmower and she just won't go, and you need to prime it a little bit.
Right. I got this old one in the back. We've had that fucker since like 1978, Craftsmaster. And you get to pulling on that thing.
She ain't never failed me once.
All right. So here's, I like this question from Simon Robelard. Do they recommend any trails near Sutton I could try? And congrats on winning. Hope to meet you soon. Trails near Sutton. Was that Vermont?
No, that's near my house. Yeah, there's a Sentier de l'Estrie. There's like a trail network. And there's like all those trails are great. There are local mountains called Round Top, and just the trail that goes up to there is a beauty. So.
And when you're done, go to town to La Rumeur Affamée and buy yourself some maple pie and baked goods, because it's really freaking good.
Yeah, maple pie is like next level.
Molly just got very wide-eyed.
Reward yourself for those runs,
There are a couple others about. So let's talk future. World's back to normal. Everything's fine. World's Toughest Mudder 2021. Interest?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Maybe.
Totally.
Maybe.
Lindsay's not interested. Lindsay's interested in crewing.
Maybe. I kicked it off the bucket list. I did it once and I was like, okay, I'm never going to do this again. But I do feel like I've become a better endurance athlete since then. So I'm like curious if I did it again now, how much better it would go. But I'm also unwilling to commit to the amount of pain involved. So I don't know. I'm on the fence.
What about we didn't really get a chance to revel in the fact that the World Championships for Spartan was supposed to be in Abu Dhabi 3 weeks ago. How do you guys feel about Spartan race in the desert for the World Championship?
Yeah, they just moved it to next year. I'm like, can we just skip that? I don't know. I'm not stoked. I do think it's like a cool part of the world that we would never otherwise probably have traveled to. So it'll be
I'm down.
Experience that.
Why not?
People were acting surprised or excited. Do you think they just forgot that Spartan already made that announcement that we were going to be there next year?
Maybe they have a lot of new Spartans who came on board this year without any races.
It's like
I'm sort of asking Josh. Like they did announce that already, right? Like that wasn't news.
Yeah. They canceled / postponed it to next year. I don't know how you can postpone it. You just can't. They said postponed. So is it going to be the 2020 championship in 2021?
Josh, you can't postpone it. You can't postpone a venue.
2021.
No, you can't cancel a venue, Matt.
You can't cancel a venue or a thing. All right, let's go this last question.
Double stamp, Matt.
Right. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You guys want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
No. Definitely not. So last question. Last year, I honestly can't remember. 2019 is like 4 years ago at this point. So when I say, this year is really last year already. But I remember having a chat with you, Lindsay, and we were talking about legacy and how you'd like to be remembered, and kind of why winning more championships kind of just adds to that, and how that's kind of cool to look back on. I want to ask Ryan that question. So what do you think? Do you think about that much? And specifically this event, which is kind of this, maybe it's a one-off, maybe it never happens again, but I think it's a pretty nice feather in the old cap.
Yeah. Legacy. I don't know. That'd be great. I just have to win like Spartan World Champs, and then.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Which, I'm notoriously good at running in the desert. I don't know if you know that about me, but this is a real skill of mine.
Well, kidding aside, Ryan, I remember being pretty heartbroken for you the last, I don't know how many years you've come in second, because there's a lot of us that are like, this is the year, but you never seem disappointed. And I know you're not lying. I know you're not just putting it on, but you legitimately are like, man, I gave that my all that race. I couldn't have done anything else. So, how often do you think about like that sort of your white whale?
Well, to be honest, my white whale.
Did I use the right reference?
To be honest, I think that if we had done like a Tahoe World Championship this year, I think I would have won, because I think right now I'm like fitter than I've ever been by like maybe 10%, which is enough to, if I've lost by like 30 seconds or a minute every year, then that's definitely enough to make up that differential. So that's a bit of a bummer with COVID, but oh well. I learned a lot this year with my training and preparation and all that stuff, and it wasn't a wasted year for me. And also I think that coming into Spartan Games, that like fitness was crucial to me, because I think every time I raced, those 3 events that I raced Josiah in, the mountain bike, the trail run, and the uphill run, I got him by, less than 2% in each event. And so every little bit of that fitness that I needed to win those events was like absolutely needed. I think it would have been cool, as a slight aside and back to the Spartan Games, I think it would have been cool if they had brought an athlete along to compete with Hunter in some of the strength events, because it seemed to me like they brought Josiah along to like, compete against me in those 3 events, because he's got a huge engine and he's like an endurance monster. And so I was like, I had my hands tied on all those events, and I had to like go to another place in order to win them. And then Hunter would just do the, the CrossFit type events, and there wasn't a single CrossFit athlete there to even like challenge him or make him work on those types of things. So that was I think that was just a bit of a bummer for me, because I think it would have been really cool for the people too to see like, oh, here's Hunter going against some, other dude with a big chest, and they're just thrown down. So instead of him finishing he finished the Deka Heavy, and he was like, I forget what he said, but he was like, that was easy or something. Yeah. It was like, I don't know. That's just.
My understanding is that they made several calls, but those calls did not get returned or did not get returned favorably. A lot of those CrossFit guys, that's all they want to do is CrossFit. It was right around the time of the games. So I think they tried. I don't think they wanted to set you up for failure that way. I just think they didn't offer enough money, or didn't do what they needed to do to get the best guys and gals.
Matt, did they ask you to come and compete against Hunter?
They not only did they not ask me to compete, they asked me to specifically not come.
Yeah. Of the athletes, like obviously there's a wide range of athletes there. Who in your groups, men and women, impressed you guys the most? Like who kind of surprised you? Maybe not from an athletic standpoint, but like mindset. Who was kind of the standout amongst the groups?
I think for the women, I'll do a men and women for me. For the women, it was definitely Lauren Weeks. She was like so strong and so consistent,
we
and
will
just
see
like
more of her.
And just such a crusher. Like,
yeah, you should have seen her during the trail marathon. So she'd only ever run. She's like, oh, I go for like weekend runs with my dog, like 5Ks, and she ran the first, like, I think it was 3 laps or something with Nicole and I Then she sort of like gradually fell back, but she was running the whole time and she was working hard. Like, I don't know. So just like for her, it would have been like near a race pace effort for the whole 6 hours or however long she ended up running. It was, I don't know. It's just crazy. She obviously has a natural engine, but she's super strong too. Like we're definitely going to see more of her. And if she works on her endurance, she's going to be like, I don't know. I think she could beat me if she wanted to in an OCR race.
And for the men, I'd say there was like a few guys who just impressed me because of their either mindset or secret abilities. And those would be like Herman, Kurt, and Mike Wardian. Those guys were all like just had a really good outlook and gave it their all every event and just, stepped up to the plate every time and just competed.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks for hopping on. I'm glad that my inability to post enough podcasts for you inspired today's chat.
Yeah.
Change your ways, Matt.
And listen, happy holidays, everyone. Be safe, be kind to one another.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I've just got a bad pun to go out on with. And I'd like to say that
I love bad puns.
I'm not so concerned about my legacy in OCR. I'm more concerned about my armacy.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye.